Another day, another series of challenges to face. As a child, Sarah's parents had often spoken harshly to her, telling her she was clumsy, slow, and not very bright. Though they likely hadn't meant to be so negative, over time their critical words had seeped into Sarah's psyche. Now, as a 35-year-old woman, Sarah still struggled with self-doubt and negativity. Her inner voice constantly berated her, echoing the sentiments she'd heard from authority figures growing up. "You're so stupid, Sarah. You'll probably screw this up like you always do," she muttered to her reflection. With a heavy heart, Sarah got dressed and headed to her doctor's appointment. She'd been feeling tired and unwell lately. Probably just stress, she thought gloomily. At the clinic, Dr. Larson greeted Sarah with a warm smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "What seems to be the trouble?" he asked. Sarah explained her symptoms: fatigue, aches and pains, general malaise. Dr. Larson listened, then spoke in a grave voice. "You must get the proper treatment or you may not heal properly. Let's run some tests." Sarah's heart sank at the doctor's ominous words. "Great, one more thing to worry about," she thought. "With my luck, it's probably something awful." A week later, she returned to get her diagnosis. "Well, Sarah," Dr. Larson began solemnly, "it appears you have a rare autoimmune condition. It's quite serious. The treatments are difficult and you may never fully recover." Sarah felt like she'd been punched in the gut. Holding back tears, she stammered, "So I'm going to be sick forever? Do I have any hope?" Dr. Larson hesitated. "There's always hope, but I have to be honest, the odds aren't great." "I'm sorry." He squeezed her shoulder in an attempt at comfort that fell flat. Sarah left the office in a daze, Dr. Larson's words ringing in her ears. "Difficult treatments, may never recover. Odds aren't great." It sounded like a death sentence. Over the next few weeks, Sarah struggled to come to terms with her diagnosis. She shared the news with her husband Mark, but instead of finding solace, his words only made her feel worse. "Sarah, this is really serious. What if you end up in a wheelchair or something?" "I'm so worried about you," Mark fretted constantly. While Sarah knew he meant well, his focus on worst-case scenarios filled her with fear. Her best friend Lisa tried to be supportive, but she also missed the mark. "You poor thing, this is awful. I can't believe this happened to you," Lisa said, shaking her head sadly every time they spoke. Her pitying words and sorrowful demeanor made Sarah feel like a helpless victim. Sarah's parents were equally negative. "I knew something like this would happen," her mother said. "You've always been sickly. I suppose we'll have to take care of you now." With each interaction, Sarah felt herself spiraling deeper into despair. Everywhere she turned, people were reinforcing her greatest fears with their words. She felt hopeless and alone. As her treatments began, Sarah withdrew from friends and family, not wanting to hear more doom and gloom. She rarely left the house except for medical appointments. Slumped on the couch one dreary afternoon, Sarah absently flipped through TV channels, finally settling on the news. Big mistake. The newscaster gleefully detailed one terrible story after another: war, famine, disease, death. It was an unrelenting barrage of negativity. "The world is a terrible place and my life is over," Sarah said out loud, echoing the anchorman's depressing sentiments. As the words left her mouth, something shifted inside her. Hearing her hopelessness spoken plainly stirred a tiny spark of defiance. "Wait a minute," she thought. "My life isn't over. I'm still here, aren't I? And the world can't be all bad." For the first time in months, she contemplated the power words had over her state of mind. She recalled a quote she had once heard: "Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions." Sarah realized she had a choice. She could continue to marinate in the negative words of others and her own self-defeating thoughts, or she could choose a different perspective. Feeling strangely inspired, Sarah turned off the TV and picked up her phone. She called her friend Molly, someone she had drifted away from during her illness. Molly had always been relentlessly optimistic, a trait Sarah suddenly found appealing. "Molly, it's Sarah. I know it's been a while. I've been sick and feeling really down. but I think I need an attitude adjustment. Are you up for a visit?" An hour later, Molly burst through Sarah's front door like a ray of sunshine, arms laden with sunflowers and silly movies. She took one look at Sarah's drawn face and enveloped her in a warm hug. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you've been having such a rough time, but you know what? You're one of the strongest, most amazing women I know. If anyone can handle this, it's you. Now, let's focus on getting you healthy and back to your fabulous self." Molly's positivity was infectious. They spent the afternoon laughing at cheesy romantic comedies and discussing Molly's latest adventures instead of dwelling on Sarah's health. When Molly left, Sarah felt lighter somehow. She realized how much she needed positive people and influences in her life. It was time to make some changes. The next day, Sarah had an appointment with a new specialist, Dr. Patel. She entered the office with trepidation but was immediately put at ease by the doctor's warm demeanor. "It's wonderful to meet you," Dr. Patel said, shaking her hand enthusiastically. "I've looked over your case, and while I know this condition is challenging, I have every confidence that we can manage it successfully. You're young, strong, and otherwise healthy. Those are all points in your favor." Sarah was taken aback. This was the first medical professional who focused on reasons for hope instead of dwelling on potential complications. "You have an excellent medical team to support you. More importantly, I can see that you have a fighter's spirit. That positive attitude will serve you well. Never underestimate the power of the mind in healing." Sarah left the appointment feeling cautiously optimistic for the first time since her diagnosis. Dr. Patel's words had bolstered her resolve. She still had a difficult road ahead, but now believed she had the strength to face it. She started each day by listing things she was grateful for, no matter how small. She sought out uplifting books and movies. Most importantly, she became mindful of her own self-talk, banishing her inner critic and replacing it with compassionate encouragement. Whenever fear or negativity crept in, she remembered Dr. Patel's words about the power of the mind. She visualized her body healing and repeated empowering mantras. "I am strong. I am healthy. I am overcoming this challenge," she declared daily. Slowly but surely, Sarah started to improve, both physically and emotionally. As her health stabilized, she ventured out into the world again. But now she interacted with others differently. She gently redirected conversations with her worrying husband and parents to more positive topics, refusing to indulge their catastrophic thinking. She spent more time with friends like Molly, who left her feeling uplifted. Even casual interactions with strangers took on new meaning. Sarah made a point to smile and express appreciation to everyone from her barista to her pharmacist. She noticed how a few simple words of kindness could make others light up. It felt good to spread more positivity in the world. A turning point came when Sarah finally felt well enough to attend her monthly book club meeting. She had been avoiding the group, certain they would only pity her. But armed with her new outlook, she decided to give it a chance. As predicted, the other women fussed over her at first. "Sarah, you poor dear. This must be so awful for you," one said, frowning with concern. "You know, it has been a challenge," she acknowledged, "but it's also given me a new perspective. I've learned how precious life is and what really matters. In a strange way, I'm grateful for this journey. It's made me a stronger, more positive person." The other women looked surprised, then contemplative. The conversation shifted away from Sarah's illness to the transformative power of gratitude and resilience. By the end of the evening, the whole group seemed uplifted. That night, Sarah reflected on how far she had come. A year ago, she had been mired in self-pity and negativity, repeating the toxic scripts she'd internalized from others. Words had been tearing her down. By choosing to focus on hope, strength, and optimism, in her own mind and in her interactions with others, she had fundamentally changed her reality. Sarah still had difficult days. Her illness was not cured and setbacks remained a part of life. But she now had tools to persevere. When negativity struck, she acknowledged it, then consciously pivoted to a better-feeling thought. She prioritized positive influences and spread light in her own way. 2 years after her diagnosis, Sarah sat on a beach watching the sunrise, Dr. Patel's words echoing in her mind, Never underestimate the power of the mind in healing. She had just gotten the news that her condition was officially in remission. Tears of joy and relief streamed down her face. Sarah knew it wasn't just the medical treatments that had gotten her to this point. It was also the healing power of her own positive words and attitude. As the sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant pinks and oranges, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace and gratitude wash over her. She had been through the darkness and emerged stronger, happier, and more purposeful. She would never again underestimate the power her words had to shape her world. With an empowered smile, Sarah raised her face to the light, ready to greet the new day. She couldn't wait to see what other miracles her positive words would create.